One of the things we get asked a lot about Remarkable in general is, can it read books? That is a very good question, seeing as one of the 3 things they say it can do is ebooks. So we're going to look at a side-by-side between the Remarkable Paper Pro Move and the latest Kindle Paperwhite generation, which is colloquially known to differentiate it, is the Jade. And this is how they kind of understand how the units are different, because this is just the all-new Paperwhite. They keep doing that. It's really kind of annoying because you never know where it lands unless you look at this really tiny serial number, MPN, manufacturer part number, at the very back. That'll tell you what device you actually have. Now, in terms of the build qualities, we're not really going to go over it too much. We'll just kind of spin it real quick. This is a aluminum body with a stylus snap on the side. It has these little rubber stoppers. It's all built very well. This is really long. This is a very long unit. You'll see that it's trying to be a bar phone, but it's falling short because it's massive compared to a phone. And it's too big for an e-reader and too small for an e-note. So we don't really know where they were going with this unit, but it is here and it's capable, I suppose. The Kindle is rather flat and pancakey. It's also very thin, and it does have a plastic build with a flush screen and bezel up top. Both of these are e-paper, but they're drastically different because this is, just call it regular black and white e-paper, and this is Gallery 3. This is not Color Kaleido. This is actually Gallery 3, so it's going to be very slow, very stainy, terrible on refresh, and it's going to leave a lot of artifacting and whatever was on the previous section. Now you'll see here, this is really blown up, and this is because Kindle has an accessibility option for large print. So you can go into settings, then you can go into accessibility, and you have display and text size. You can actually choose large or standard. That's kind of a really nice feature to have if you need it. Similarly, on the Move, you have accessibility section and you have large as well. So this will beef it up a little bit, but because this is such a narrow screen real estate, it's not too useful. There's not a lot of utility out of that to have it like that, but it is there if you need it. We're not really going to go over settings or anything like that. We're just going to show you for the first part of this video the realistic kind of use of both of these. So if I go over here and go to settings, you can see everything's a kind of seamless transition. It just kind of, things pop up and it works and it goes into it, and you can switch between panels and things like that. Everything is very snappy, and when you turn pages, it's seamless. There's nothing really happening on the screen compared to other devices. It's very quick and snappy, and this is because it's black and white. It's not trying to do too much. It's really just a single use purpose. The Remarkable, they actually give you a little bit of a discretion when you, disclaimer so to speak, when you get into this, because you might be saying, well, why is it spazzing out like that? Why does it look like a 1970s transition that's getting all kind of blurry and stuff? And this is because this is the inherent nature of the e-paper screen that they're using. This is Gallery, so it's going to be very slow, it's going to be very sluggish, and it's going to kind of spaz out. You'll see that when you do something, it turns into almost like pinks and greens start showing up on the screen, pinks and blues and greens and stuff. So you do have to just be a little bit more slow and patient with this unit. But as we said, if you go here, filter by, one of the 3 things Remarkable gives you is notes, PDFs, and ebooks. So we're going to look at ebooks because, I mean, we kind of have to. So we're just going to choose 2 ebooks side by side, and we're just going to do some page turns to start things off. You can kind of instantly see which one is nicer to read on. Also, the fact that this is very white, because we have actually, oh well, the glow light's on, but it was almost off. But this is a very white on black experience because it's not using any color. It's not using Kaleido. It's not using color array filters that dilute the overall image. In fact, the image of this, even at its highest font, is quite nice and clear. You can see the O's are smooth, all the curved characters are very smooth. It's a very nice looking visual. Now, the Remarkable can't say nearly as much because they put this kind of sandpapery layer on top, and what that does is give you a little bit better pen experience when it comes time for taking notes, but it doesn't actually translate properly into a good visual experience. In fact, it's quite poor because it gets in the way. It kind of blurs and dilutes the image of what you're seeing, and that goes against the inherent nature of Gallery 3. Gallery 3 is a heavily invested technology with over $100 million USD invested into the technology, and they're not really doing it complete justice by putting this thing on top, because by doing that, it just looks a little bit less. Now, we do have some ways to change our experience, and we'll try to make these as identical as possible. And just to show one more time, the glow lights are off on both of these. It's just this bright on the Kindle. You would actually have to turn the glow light up on the Remarkable to get a little bit of a boost, but even then it doesn't really reach that level, so we'll just take it for what it is. Now, you do have a little bit closer of a kind of side-by-side here, and unfortunately there's not much we can do outside of that because the unit doesn't really format itself as well on the Move as it does on the Kindle. The Kindle is an e-reader, and we don't want to knock this by saying it's not doing as good of a job, because that's not what it's for. This is an e-note with a stylus layer that you use to jot things down and take notes and everything. In fact, you can do that right now. So we can't really fault it for that, but they did put these things in. Ebook settings, you can see here, there's some settings, and when you go back to the top, you do have adjust view, and then you have text settings. So we're not making this up. They put that there. So let's see what we have here. We have 4 different fonts. You have a couple fonts up there, and unfortunately they don't parallel each other, so they don't kind of transfer over. We can't find the same font. It does take a little bit of time in between each font change, so you'll have to wait and see what it is going to come up with. We found that this is kind of the closest to Amazon Ember, so we'll just kind of go with that. You do have line spacing as well. Line spacing works decently if you give it some time to figure it out. And you have page margins. So there we go. We kind of, squished it in a little bit. If you do too wide of a margin, things start getting kind of cut off, and there's some problems with formatting. So it is kind of advised to do a central justification with a big margin on the outsides, and maybe reduce the font size just a little bit, just to kind of balance things out. And when you click save, it'll kind of adjust those and make those changes. Now we have something that kind of looks like it's working, and it kind of does. So this unit, it being so kind of thin and long, it does allow you to put your finger in a position where you can use it with one hand, and to be fair, it's not the worst experience we've seen. It does have the ability to use one-handed, it does show a decent amount of text on the screen, and if you adjust it accordingly, you will have no formatting errors. So in that regard, it's kind of good, although the screen is in fact almost darker than the bezel color, so you do have to get past the point that it is not going to be a white experience. In fact, if I bring something in off camera here, this will be a piece of white, and you'll see which one is closer to it, this pure white. So it's much closer to have a black and white unit than a color unit. And this isn't necessarily the fault of Remarkable, because whether you have a pocketbook, a bigme, an onyx, a high read that uses color, even an Amazon that uses color, it's going to look like that. And they do have Amazon color devices, of course. They have the ColorSoft. This is more of an e-reader, so it's very snappy, 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 boom, 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 like that. So you need to know what you're getting with each experience. Now, that's basically it. You do have the ability to do some things like long pressing on the Kindle. It doesn't work on the Remarkable, and that's because you have your pen for that. You can do things like just go in there and draw on it right away, although the drawing experience has kind of fallen off the wayside since the Remarkable 2, and that's not us talking. If you look here, we have red, but as you're drawing, it's black and purple, and then as you let go, it takes several seconds for it to turn into green, yellow, and then back to the color you wanted. So it can get a little bit disheartening to say, well, my pen's not working? Is it not doing anything? No, that is just kind of how it works. Now, the Remarkable does take notes, and it does have PDF capabilities, and it does have screen sharing with all of its other integrated things like the application, the PC program, etc. So there's a lot more you can do on the Remarkable than the Kindle. The Kindle is just reading books. Of course, on the Remarkable, you also have cloud storage integration, and you have a bunch of other things that you can do with the connection, synchronization. You can do passcode settings. There's a lot more functionality on this, and if you go filter by notebooks and then you open something up, this is where it shines. And we're not really going to get into this right now, but you do have the ability to do shading and pencils and choose all your colors, like a green. You could do let's do a paintbrush, thick line in red, and there you go. You now have a red paintbrush, and it shows the little individual strokes. And honestly, if it wasn't for that 2-second render every single time you touch the pen to the page, it would be a flawless color experience, because that looks so good every step of the way. Honestly, I didn't know you couldn't pinch. Oh, you can pinch and zoom. It's just slow. That's right. So there you go. Look at those strokes. Those are not going to be easily found on a lot of other devices. You'll see that they really split up the pen contact into several little streaks like that. It really is an unparalleled experience after the render. It's so realistic. It's like, oh, my paintbrush is running out of paint. It's so accurate. I love it. The Kindle, again, you have your store with millions of titles, and it's a one-trick pony, because they don't even give you apps like Pocketbook. They don't even give you like chess and stuff like that, which is fine because it's chess and Sudoku and Klondike. You don't exactly need those. But essentially, these are the differences between the Move and the Kindle. Obviously, you're not going to be spending $700, $800, $900 on the Paper Pro, the Paper Pro Move, in order just to read books. We're just showcasing this because we have a ton of people that say, can the Remarkable read books? How is it at reading books? Can it properly handle it? It can. But that's not why you would buy this. You would buy this for reading books. You would buy this for downloading content directly on the unit. But for now, these are the differences between a standard Kindle and the Remarkable Paper Pro Move. Thanks for watching.